Welcome back to Transfer Review, the show where we look around Europe for all the juiciest transfer rumours and decide whether they're any good or not. Joining me today is Patrick Van Straten. How you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
I'm quite worried about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's already...
Johan
Cruyff
Cruyff is gradually turning, so I'm a bit troubled. What's our first rumour?
It is Alexandre Lacazette to Atletico Madrid with the possibility of a Thomas Lemar swap deal. And I know how much you love swap deals, Pat.
Yeah, I love swap deals because they remind me of when football was terrible. Anyway, we actually spoke about this rumour on yesterday's transfer talk, but we thought it merited a slightly deeper dive. Now, multiple outlets this week have said that if Atleti's pursuit of Edinson Cavani fails, they will be interested in Arsenal's Alexandre Lacazette as a fallback option. And actually, I think it would probably make more financial sense for them. Cavani is currently on €350,000 a week at PSG. Lacazette's on about half of that. And while his contract runs until 2022, so you'd expect him to command a hefty fee if he just moved for money, Atleti do think that they can tempt Arsenal into swapping him for Thomas Lemar somehow. Money-wise, it would still result in a major financial commitment from them. Lemar cost them €70 million. That was just 2 years ago. He's 4 years younger than Lacazette at 24. His wages are about €120,000 a week, while Lacazette's on £180,000 a week, somewhere around there. But I think at this point it would be sensible to cut your losses on Thomas Lemar. Since his move from Monaco, he's contributed 3 goals and 3 assists in about 2,500 league minutes, and all of those goal involvements came last season. He's been absolutely woeful this campaign. He's taking less than 1 shot per 90. Last year it was 1.3. The year before it was 1.8 in his last term in Ligue 1. He's producing 0.7 key passes per 90, down from 1.9 last season and 2.5 the year before that, or 2 years before that, actually. So, I mean, it just feels like everything is on a downward side. He's not even defending as much, which, of course, was kind of what we thought Simeone would get out of him. 1.7 tackles and interceptions per 90. I think it was around 3 during his time playing under Leo Jardim. So it just feels like something is wrong there. And he kind of lost all his talent overnight, not without a major injury. So I completely understand why he and the club would both want a clean break.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously this isn't the first time that Atleti have been in for Lacazette either. Obviously back in 2017, but just before, I guess, the Arsenal move, he'd actually agreed terms with Atletico, and then the transfer ban, I think, was upheld, so they couldn't sign anyone that summer. Which kind of left the door open, I guess, for Arsenal to take advantage. But I don't quite know what Lacazette would offer Atleti. Obviously, he's going through a bit of a rough patch at the Emirates. He's kind of got the supporters on his back for the first time properly. Yeah. Hasn't scored since the start of December, racked up just 5 goals and 2 assists so far, contributing to a goal every 147 minutes, which is a significant drop from his average of 1 every 119 minutes last term. But I still think his underlying stats paint a picture of a player who probably will come good again. He's taking 3.1 shots per 90, which is the best in the squad, 1.9 shots in the box per 90, which I believe is also the best in the squad. And Alvaro Morata, I think, is the only player who beats him for shots in the box per 90 at Atleti. He's also creating 1.5 chances a game. That's up from 1.1 last term. So there's obviously still a good player in there. He's obviously aging a bit. He's 28 now. So maybe not the best long-term investment. But for me, I'm just not quite sure where he fits in that Atleti system. Obviously, they tend to play a 4-4-2. Morata has been their best attacking outlet this season. And then you've got João Felix, who costs such a hefty amount that I would find it very odd for them to then invest heavily again in another striker who would potentially take his place in that system. And then they're fairly well stocked on the wings still. I just don't quite see where Lacazette would fit in that system.
I think a legit wide guy who can defend is kind of what they need. Like what they've had in the past is they've tried wingers who weren't going to defend, or they had central midfielders play wide who would do the defensive stuff but couldn't really run forward. And it just feels like what they need is to go and really just nail a signing of one of those guys who's like a little bit of a hybrid. To me, there's a type now. There aren't many of them, but Felipe Anderson. is perfect. He would have been ideal for them. Emiliano Buendia at Norwich. And I think if you could use Lamar, even if you just sell him to raise money, then that would be fine. But you could probably look into swapping him with West Ham or something. Like, I just think one of those guys would make much more sense. And I agree with you. Like, unless they go to playing like Felix behind Morata and Lacazette, it just feels a little bit like you're getting in a really expensive player who's not going to be a nailed-on starter.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously we were speaking about Buendia, I think last week on Continental Club in terms of for Atleti, and it just makes way more sense for them to go more like for like in that sense, especially if they want to get rid of Lamar as well.
Yes.
Doesn't really seem like the most logical kind of outcome to this fiasco. But what do you guys think at home? Should Atleti be going in for Lacazette? Should Arsenal be keen on Lamar? I'm not really sure about that either. Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to the next section.
Next up from the rumour mill, we've got Kalidou Koulibaly, who could be on his way to Man United. At least that's what somebody who might not be fake says on Twitter.
Yes, I mean, we can't confirm or deny this, but a rumour we've obviously seen countless times over the last couple of years. But then this week, Italian journalist Fabio Santini, who I wasn't able to find anywhere.
That's a type of tomato.
Yeah.
Santini.
Is that actually what it is? Yeah.
It is,
so there you go. But apparently, this man claimed that an agreement is in place for Kalidou Koulibaly to join Man United in the summer. Quotes have him as saying they will sell Koulibaly to Man United for a figure of around 70 to 75 million euros. It all seems done. But this hasn't been picked up really by any other reputable sources.
Okay.
There seems to be a lot of questions over how reputable this quote is. So I don't know. We don't really have many Italian fans at FD, but any Italian fans out there, did you see this happen? Because apparently it did happen on Italian television, but hasn't been able to be unearthed. But nevertheless, obviously a lot of the talk around Man United and transfers this week has been centred more around Bruno Fernandes. Solskjaer obviously travelled to watch him play last week. Negotiations now taking place over the £60 million rated midfielder, and that seems to be, whether Bruno Fernandes is the answer to kind of United's creative needs in that midfield is another conversation. But that definitely seems to be the area where Solskjaer is more focused right now.
Yes.
It seems very odd that United would even consider really going for Koulibaly when he's rated at that price, considering the Maguire transfer last summer doesn't really fit at all the kind of profile that United have been looking at more recently. Obviously tend to go for under 25s, and in that sense Maguire was maybe a bit of a even a bit of an anomaly in terms of spending huge on a player who's got a bit more experience. Just doesn't seem like the centre-back positions are where United needs strengthening most. I feel like even if United were in need of centre-back cover for whatever reasons, for injuries or whatever, the most logical solution would be to bring back Chris Smalling off his loan. Obviously, Smalling probably wouldn't be up for that himself, considering what a great start he's had to life at Roma. But yeah, I mean, Koulibaly turns 29 in the summer, doesn't really add up. And obviously he's under contract, I think, for another few years. So Napoli can command a big price for him, but whether anyone's willing to pay that is another matter, Pat, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. And like you say, it just feels like the one area of Man United that's been like unequivocally a success this season, I think, has been the defence. Like, I think Lindelof's been good there next to Maguire. And so I'm not quite sure what sense this makes. It hasn't been a great season for Koulibaly either. Obviously, like Napoli generally have had a bit of a tough campaign so far. He's obviously known for his ball playing, but that's going to be Maguire. That's why you paid so much money for him. And while Koulibaly was fifth in the squad, he's fifth in the squad now for passes into the final third per 90. He was second in the squad last season. So it almost feels like he's less influential there as well. He's having to defend a lot more. He's gone up to 3.7 tackles and interceptions a game from 2.8. So we are seeing him have to put challenges in, and he is very good when he does it. 81% of his challenges see him walk away with the ball compared to 77% last season, which is still very good. Napoli's defence is pretty solid. Like, they've been absolutely fine, but Koulibaly hasn't been a part of it for the last month or so. It's been Manolas Antonelli because Koulibaly's been on the sidelines with a muscle injury. So it all seems really, really strange. However, if I were Napoli, this is 100% the time that I'd be shopping this guy around. Because I think a couple of years ago, everyone was saying, Napoli don't want to sell him, Napoli don't want to sell him. I think they'd have been delighted to sell him a couple of years ago for really big money. Like, if they could have got that fee they wanted, which was like 100 mil, I'm sure they would have been delighted to take it, because now they're in a situation where they've got an asset who is depreciating. Like, he is, because of his age, because of the form of the side, he now no longer has the profile he did a couple of years ago. And I think that if they could get 60 mil for him, they'd probably have your hand off. So I don't know. I think that I would probably sell him if I could get anywhere near that and I was Napoli, and bring the squad age down, which is at 27.4 right now, which is not crazy old, but it's certainly not young either. I don't know. Does this seem like it's going to happen? Like, if Koulibaly moves, it'll be this summer, but I'm not sure that United are actually going to pull the trigger in the end.
No, I don't think so either. There's just far too many other areas of that squad that need work.
Yeah, and we've heard Real Madrid linked, we've heard Chelsea linked, we've heard United linked. All that makes me think that actually nobody has taken a serious interest and Napoli just want to sell him. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Will Koulibaly move on this year? And if so, where will he go? Let us know.
Our third rumour involves Christian Eriksen, who finally looks like he's going to be moving away from Tottenham this month. But where to is still, it's still a bit of a question, because obviously Inter Milan seem odds on to get him. But now PSG have entered the picture.
Okay.
Obviously, Inter have agreed terms with Eriksen, but they're apparently not willing to pay the 20 to 25 million pound valuation that Tottenham have him at. I think they want to pay closer to 10 million, which would be an absolute scoop for the Nerazzurri. But apparently PSG are happy to pay Tottenham's asking price, but still need to convince the player. Apparently Eriksen is not convinced that he'll get sufficient game time at the Parc des Princes, and I think you can probably sympathise with that. Obviously, Di Maria has really come back into his own this season. He's averaging 3.4 key passes per 90. So it wouldn't. There's not like a slot there for Eriksen just to take up in that forward line. And obviously, PSG have further depth in those kind of areas just behind the forward line as well. Pablo Sarabia obviously came in for around 20 million last summer. He's racked up 860 minutes. Draxler is still at PSG somehow. He's racked up 300 minutes. But I feel like the way that PSG have developed, this still doesn't even make that much sense. Obviously, they've got a very combative midfield, and Eriksen isn't really used to playing in a forward line in a 4-3-3, really, is he? Like, I mean, especially nowadays. I don't know what you'd think about Eriksen at PSG.
I don't know. Like, I mean, if playing time's his concern, I wouldn't go. Because, like you say, Di Maria's in great form, and he's played more minutes in Ligue 1 than any other PSG player this season. So Tuchel obviously loves him. And then, that midfield is Marquinhos, Verratti and Gay. And I don't think he's going to take the place of any of them. Paredes can't even really get a look in right now. So if that's going to be the issue in the short term, then I don't think they'll be able to get him. But if they can say to him, look, Di Maria, he's 32 next month, he's not going to be the star of this team forever, then I do think that this would kind of future-proof them in that position. Like Di Maria, maybe they can move him on and say, you know what, Christian Eriksen is now going to be the heart of that side. And he does feel like quite a Tuchel number 10. Like he defended pretty hard. He used to put in loads of pressures under Pochettino. Those 3.4 key passes a game that Di Maria is managing, at his best, Eriksen did that a couple of seasons in a row for Pochettino, so he's capable of that as well. He'd go there, he'd probably immediately win a domestic title. He could help them go deep in the Champions League now, because obviously the rules have changed, so he'd be able to play for them. So when you look at his goal contribution as well, like last season at Spurs, it was 20 league goals and assists. The year before 20, the year before 23, the year before 19. Like that's phenomenally consistent.
Yeah.
So really the question to me isn't so much, especially because actually Inter as well, the rumours that Inter are going to give him like 100k a week. So if you're PSG, I'd be like, that's nothing. Like that's pennies to us. The only question comes down to what Eriksen wants in the near future. Would he rather play under Tuchel or Conte? Would he rather live in Milan or Paris? You know, where does he think he's going to get more minutes? That's the question. I mean, if you were Eriksen, what would you do?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same question, actually.
Okay.
I feel it's a really difficult one. I would verge on maybe joining Inter just because there's just a bit more of a kind of young kind of project there in terms of Conte having just come in. You know, it seemed, I don't know, everyone's kind of everyone's pushing in the same direction there. Like I think winning Serie A this season would be obviously a far bigger achievement than PSG just winning Ligue 1 again. In terms of, I don't know, I feel like in terms of like lifestyle and stuff, PSG would probably make more sense, but you are just going to get more minutes at Milan. And if Conte wants you, then he's going to be playing you every week.
That's true.
Whereas I think, as we've seen with PSG, it is just quite a congested squad, especially in the forward areas. So I would probably go for Inter.
I think I'd go PSG.
Yeah.
I think everything you've said about Inter makes sense, but if you end up not winning the title this season, you might not again for a while. And I also think if Conte flames out at Inter, which was rumoured early in the season that he was already pissing off the board, I kind of think you have no idea what they'll get in afterwards. You have no idea if they'll just slump, down into kind of mid-table. They're capable of it. Whereas I think at PSG, I'd be like, you know what, Tuchel is like a smart managerial hire. I think that the next manager they hire will probably also be a smart hire. I'll get to play with Mbappe. Going to get paid loads of money. I think I'd probably go PSG.
Yeah.
Also, I think I'd rather live in Paris than Milan, as much as Milan's very nice.
Yeah, no, I think Paris would be a nicer place to live. But and I think his value will probably more likely decrease in Serie A than it would at PSG in some ways. So if you did still want another move after that, then PSG might be the best place to go.
Interesting. What do you guys think? Let us know. Our fan pick this week comes from Menez, FD All-Star, and he says Politano being done to Roma makes it more likely for Cengiz Under to move to Milan, according to Di Marzio. Please explain this.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting move, this Politano going to Roma, obviously as part of a deal which takes Spinazzola to Inter. And Spinazzola had only been at Roma a few months, hadn't he? Cost them cash plus left-back Luca Pellegrini, as he went to Juve in the summer. But he's 14th already in the squad for minutes. So it kind of makes sense for Conte to take him on. Obviously, he's in the market for wing-backs, specifically left wing-backs.
Yes.
Obviously, so integral to his kind of style of play. And Politano, similarly, just not getting the minutes at Inter. Involved in 11 league goals last season, but played just 243 minutes at the San Siro this term. So, I mean, that deal makes an awful lot of sense. As for Under going to Milan as well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. He's been injured for a lot of this season. That's limited him to just 3 starts. And Roma do have a very big squad, but they have been in the midst of an injury crisis. So getting rid of some of that injured talent, if they are desperate to bring in more players this window, would maybe make sense. I don't know what you make of this, Pat.
Well, he's one of their few assets, right? And he's injured all the time. Like, he only got like 1,300 minutes last season, and I just feel like they need to raise funds for a replacement for Kolarov, a replacement for Dzeko. And like the list of guys out injured is crazy, and all these guys now are going to be worth less. Like they brought in Zappacosta, he's out with an ACL tear. Zaniolo out with an ACL tear. Pastore, Mkhitaryan and Fazio all absent at the moment. Kluivert has been on the sidelines too with this thigh problem for a long time. So it just feels like the young players in the squad they have who do actually have value are getting less and less valuable. So if you can shift Under, and the rumoured fee is 50 million euros is what they want for him, then I think you probably do it and you go out and buy that striker who's going to be the Dzeko replacement. You buy that left back who's going to be the Kolarov guy. Last season, he was involved in 10 goals, like I said, in about 1,300 minutes, which is like a good kind of ratio of goals to minutes, but very few minutes, and that would concern me. 2.5 shots a game, I think half of those are outside the box. 1.4 dribbles, 2 key passes. These are all good numbers, but they're not like spectacular. They're not like 50 million euros to me. Then, I mean, I feel like for that money, it's basically what Chelsea paid for Pulisic, and like. He's amazing, and his numbers as a much younger player look vastly superior to these. So you're banking here on Under coming back into fitness and rediscovering his form, and even when he rediscovers that form, it's not hugely convincing. I don't know, it just feels like Milan are doing the same thing over and over again, overpaying for a guy who they think like seems like he should be the star of a Milan side, and it will just never quite work out for them.
Yeah, I mean, they'd probably be making a fairly healthy profit as well, wouldn't they, Roma, by collecting 50 million, right?
Yeah, I think
was it like 20 to 30 million they originally paid for him, or maybe it was
even
more.
Less.
Yeah, and Roma would be making a fairly healthy profit on Under as well at 50 million euros.
I can't imagine they paid that much out of the Turkish league.
Maybe 20 to 30 if that. So yeah, it's a difficult one really. Obviously injuries are always a bit of a problem. He's 22 now, so it's it's not like he's, I don't know, this is the age where he kind of needs to be, have a real full season under his belt and a good kind of 15 to 20 goal contributions at that. So I don't know, for him, I think maybe it would just be better to stay put at Roma. Like, he knows that if he's fit, he'll probably be in and around that starting 11. He's certainly got the attributes to start in that side, and last season proved so. Despite his injury problems, whenever he was fit, he was straight in that side and contributing. As for Milan, it's just, I don't know, that project at the moment just does seem a little bit toxic, doesn't it? And it might be a risk for him at this age when he really does need to consolidate himself in Serie A to make that kind of leap. Having said that, I think he probably would add something to Milan if he stays fit. But I don't know, what do you guys think at home? Do you think Under to Milan would be a good move? Do you think it's going to happen? Let us know in the comments. So that's all we have time for on Transfer Review for this week. Pat, where should they go next if they enjoyed this?
Well, if you haven't had enough of transfers, then make sure that you're subscribed to the Extra Time podcast, where we've taken a look at transfer needs of all the big sides in the Premier League and around Europe.
Sweet. See you later.
Bye.